Hi guys, hope you're well and welcome back to my channel, and hello anyone that is new here that may have clicked onto this because you may or may not be going through or have gone through the same thing. Now obviously the title would have pretty much summed up what I'm going to be talking about, but I basically have suffered with prenatal depression twice now in both my pregnancies, and I didn't even know first time round that I suffered with prenatal depression. So I was completely unaware that it was a thing, and I was just putting it down to being pregnant and the hormones that come with it, and it was a lot worse than your general hormones of pregnancy. And so I have made a cup of tea and I'm just going to basically speak through my experience. Like I said, I haven't really spoken to anyone about this. I don't really speak to family about it. I will briefly mention stuff maybe when I'm pregnant, maybe in deeper conversations with friends I may have mentioned it, but only to 1 or 2 friends. The only person that really knows the full side of this story is my husband, and again it's not something that we really discuss now. It's just something that we're really aware of from the first time round and the second time round, and it's something that we're now aware of going into if we were to have a third baby. So to summarise, I suffered with prenatal depression in both my pregnancies. I have a 3-year-old and I have a 10-month-old, and I didn't know what prenatal depression was or that it even existed. Everyone talks about postnatal depression. Everyone. You get told about it during pregnancy, after pregnancy, before pregnancy. You hear everyone talking about it. But I've never ever heard of anyone talk about prenatal depression, which was depression during pregnancy. I just never heard of it. So I fell pregnant at the age of 20. I found out a couple of days before my 21st birthday that I was pregnant with my first son. And I know everyone says you can't plan a baby, there's no right time. Me and my husband were ready to have a child at that point, but the month that we fell pregnant with my son couldn't have been a worse month if it possibly tried. I had just started a new job and we were going to New York, and we had waited all these years for me to turn 21 to go to New York to be able to have a drink, and I couldn't then drink. Obviously none of that matters, and I would never have swapped my son for any of that. So by no means am I saying that, but the point that I'm trying to get across is that in my head, both first time and second time around, there have either been work related things or other things that have implemented on that month not being the perfect month. And as far as I'm concerned, there is officially no perfect month to fall pregnant. There may be for some, but not for me. I always have an event or something going on that would always make me think like, oh, maybe this wasn't the right month. But that being said, I love my children. I would never have swapped them, never have done anything to change when and how and who they are and when it happened. But the month that I fell pregnant with Clayton, we went to New York, and shortly after returning from New York, I got really ill. I remember my first symptoms were tiredness. I was really, really tired the whole of our trip to New York, and that was probably as soon as I found out I was pregnant at 4 weeks. I was really, really tired. And from that, sickness developed, and I had severe morning sickness. And it wasn't morning sickness, it was all day sickness every day of the week. I don't remember a single day in my pregnancy that I wasn't sick. And if I wasn't sick, maybe towards, like, it was more nearer the middle end. When I wasn't sick, I was still nauseous. There wasn't a day that I couldn't brush my teeth without being sick. I was sick the whole way through. Not only that, I had some girls that I went to school with making really horrible and nasty comments. They weren't very nice people, to which I blocked and deleted because I wanted nothing to do with them, which kind of added to the stress because I started the new job literally a couple of weeks before finding out I was pregnant. I had the stress of phoning in sick to work every single day in a brand new job, which I felt awful on because my work was so understanding. They were so kind, but phoning in sick every single day and having to give the comment, the statement, I can't make it in today, I'm really ill, was horrid. I tried everything you can imagine for sickness. I tried ginger, I tried travel bans, I tried eating, not eating, doing this, doing that. Anything you could possibly think of, I tried. And in my first pregnancy, it didn't work. Second pregnancy, it did work. We found out in the end that it was a lot of the motion sickness that would be a massive trigger for me in terms of being sick. So the training to work was a massive trigger, eating certain foods and things like that. That's kind of another topic, but not only did I have that, I also suffered with a lot of other things. So I suffered with severe heartburn for quite a lot of my pregnancy, severe tiredness. I also suffered with hemorrhoids quite badly. I had a lot of tummy issues. Sorry about that, my camera battery died. Yeah, so I suffered with then this itching problem, which then consumed a lot of my time. And basically it was severe itching. I couldn't control it. I was given Prenatal and things like that. I would try and moisturise. It was basically a combination of my skin stretching and the stretch marks stretching, and they were all getting really irritable. But if you could have seen pictures of what it looked like, and I may have some that I may be able to insert, I may not, but if you could have seen how bad it was horrible. I then went through phases of my husband would try and get me out for the day, and I remember I lost my engagement ring, which I'd only got a couple of months before. Literally when we was in New York, my husband proposed. I then lost my engagement ring. I found it. I got my parents to find it. I lost it in a car park. It was just a really horrible time. Plus, I'm a really anxious person, and I was terrified that something was going to go wrong. I had reduced movements. It just wasn't a very fun time for me. And so I spent the majority of my time in my house, in my bed, being sick. That was how the majority of my pregnancy was spent. I didn't see many people. I didn't want to go out. I was terrified of being sick. I'd maybe go to my parents every now and then. I didn't go out very many places. Everyone kind of always talks about that build up of doing the baby's nursery and things like that. I was too ill to do any of that, and it just wasn't a very fun time for me at all. I didn't realise that I had prenatal depression until after my pregnancy, and I was putting it down to, along with my midwife, we were kind of at the time all putting it down to just because my pregnancy was a real horrid pregnancy, and even my labour went on to be horrid. And a lot of people were questioning afterwards, because after I had Clayton, I was a completely different person. I was up, I was out, I was getting ready. It was the best that I had felt in 9 months, and I literally physically felt better. It was like I gave birth and my mood just instantly changed. People thought that I was running on adrenaline because of the labour and the delivery and the shock of that, but it carried on and I was completely fine. So I want to discuss the symptoms for me, what I suffered with prenatal depression. So one of the things was that I was tired all the time. There wasn't a day that I don't remember being tired. And again, people think, yeah, it's general pregnancy tiredness, but it wasn't for me. It was more than that. It was just being shattered, not being able to physically want to get, I had no positive outlook on anything. I didn't want to get up, I didn't want to get ready, I didn't want to go out, I didn't want to see anyone, speak to anyone, do anything. I had no kind of light at the end of the tunnel. There was nothing. I was very angry, I was very upset, I was crying all the time. I was just in a horrible, horrible place. I remember, although I was at home all day long and all night, I would have trouble sleeping. I didn't sleep very well. I was really angry. I was anxious. I mean, I'm quite an anxious person as it is, and I think I suffer with quite bad anxiety as it is. But it's tolerable and it's manageable, and it's never anything that's directly really affected me. I do feel it's getting worse as I get older, but never been anything that's been too bad. I had panic attacks. Again, controllable panic attacks, but this was all something that I'd never realised was more than just what it was, and I'd never heard anybody speak on the internet about it. For me, the positives were, as soon as I gave birth, I felt instantly better. I didn't go on to suffer with postnatal depression, but I don't know why people seem to think that talking about being depressed during pregnancy is such a bad thing. I couldn't have been more grateful for the fact that I was pregnant, and I think that's why a lot of people don't speak about it, is because they're then hammered with this horrible opinion that to be depressed during pregnancy is just not right, because there are so many people that can't have babies. And also, whilst that is true, and also whilst there are so many situations like that, you are in no control of the hormones in your body and what your body puts you through. I am generally such a positive person. I am always on the go, always on the move. I'm generally quite a happy person. Yes, I'm quite an anxious person, and like I said, that is getting worse, but for me, just to be in the state of mind that I was in when I was pregnant was a complete overhaul. And I just remember it not being good. And for me, it was the trigger, what I'm putting down, the causes and the triggers for me for suffering with prenatal depression the first time round were the fact that I'd started my new job and I was really stressed about that, and how anxious I was over the pregnancy in itself, and obviously just the hormones combined. And then second time round, I fell pregnant with Parker. Again, I had a work trip I was meant to be going on, and literally the day I found out, I had to tell my work, because I only did the test just because there was an inkling. I don't know what it was. Me and my husband were discussing the Zika virus, and there was an inkling in my back of my mind saying, you should do a test, you could be pregnant. And I did a test and it was positive, and literally I was meant to be giving over passport information to go to Thailand, but because of the Zika virus I couldn't go, so I had to tell my work about it. And again, that pregnancy was riddled with more stress. I had the stress over the fact that my work knew straight away. There was then someone somehow in my work had discussed my pregnancy, which my family didn't even know that I was pregnant, and someone somehow had discussed my pregnancy in work, so everyone in work knew, although they were portraying to me that they didn't know. I don't know who told them, because the only people that I told were my managers, so I'm not quite sure what happened, how it had gotten out, whether someone had guessed, I don't know. So I then had the stress of everyone in work knowing, but I still wasn't even at 12 weeks. This was at 6-7 weeks. So I was still really concerned myself over just having an anxious pregnancy and being anxious during pregnancy that something would go wrong. And then other people knew about it and my family didn't even know about it. I had that. I had the stress over the fact that I wasn't permanent at this job. I'd not long started this job again. I'd started in the July, and then I went away for my wedding in the August and my honeymoon in the August, September, and then I found out in the October that I was pregnant. So I then had the fact that I hadn't really been at this job for a very long time before falling pregnant. I also wasn't permanent, so that was a stress that I might not get maternity pay, maternity leave, that I wouldn't be made permanent. And then in the March, I was about, golly gosh, 4 months pregnant. I then broke my foot. I wasn't that sick in this pregnancy, and before that point, the pregnancy, it was going so much better. And then I broke my foot and I couldn't walk for 10 weeks, and I was crawling up and down my stairs. I needed my husband to have a shower, to walk from my bedrooms. I was heavily pregnant. I was big. I couldn't go on the crutches. And I was back to being stuck in bed every single day, by myself, on my own. Like, for me, there is nothing better than being at work and talking to people and socialising, and to then be stuck in a house again. I mean, being off sick is my idea of hell, and I don't think people understand until they're in that position where they're signed off sick and there's nothing they can do about it. And again, I then had the stress of having to phone my work, tell my work. I was told that I should be able to walk straight away, and it took me 10 weeks to walk, and that never happened. And then I then had to tell my work that I couldn't go back. I then had to move my maternity forward, and because my sick pay had been exhausted again, which is what happened in my first pregnancy. God, my pregnancies are no fun, I tell you. But for me, that's what does it. It's the stress of pregnancy for me. That is a major trigger stress, and I think that might be what causes my hormones in my body. And again, I got really down. There wasn't a day that I didn't cry, a day that I didn't get upset, a day that I wasn't angry with the situation that I was in, a day that I didn't feel guilt in my second pregnancy over the fact that, again, I couldn't prepare. I didn't get my pregnancy bag ready until about 36 weeks. It was really, really late. 36 weeks, 37 weeks is when I went and got the car seat and things like that, and then we gave birth, well, I was induced at 38 weeks. that was literally just the point. I had growth scans, I was in for reduced movements. Yeah, just you name it. Plus I had all the guilt this time that basically I was meant to be spending the last few months with my baby boy before my new baby boy came, and I lost all those months. And again, I had Parker, I gave birth to him, and the second I gave birth, don't get me wrong, I had everything from awful after pains and horrible after effects of labour, but there was nothing that could touch how I felt. It seems really weird to say that all of a sudden you physically feel something being lifted, but I just remember a couple of days before just feeling so low, and then I just felt so good. And there's no other way I can explain it really. It's not nice. When you're in it, you do put it down to being pregnant and you put it down to pregnancy, but it is prenatal depression. You are depressed. I now know that I suffer with that, and me and my husband were very aware that I was suffering with it in my second pregnancy because of what had happened first time round. But it's just something to be aware of, because obviously mine, whilst I was severely depressed, was quite a mild form of it. Other people do get a lot worse than me. I'm not saying mine was easy or tolerable whatsoever, but it was manageable. But it's just something that I wanted to talk to you all about. If you are in the same situation, talk to your midwife, because second time round I spoke to my midwife and she completely agreed with me that that's what I was suffering with and that's what I was going through. And she also did all the assessments after pregnancy and completely agreed that it was prenatal depression, and that was it. And yeah, I mean, there's not much more I can really say. Speak to people, speak to your partners, speak to your family, speak to your midwife. She will be able to help you more than anything. My midwives both time round have been really supportive. They've been lovely, so caring, so understanding. They're not out to get you in any way, shape or form. My biggest fear, I remember first time round, my husband kept saying to me, tell your midwife you're not well, tell your midwife you've been upset and crying and low. But I was so scared of them saying you've got prenatal depression, and then, or postnatal depression, or whatever it may be, that you're depressed, and then them wanting to assess me and taking my child off me. That was the thoughts that went through my head, and that's not the case at all. Speak to people, speak to me. I'm here, I've been through it. But speak to your midwife, speak to people you know, because it will help. It really will. And I just want you to know that you're not alone, and you're not the only person going through this. I have tormented filming this video quite a few times now, but the only reason I'm filming this is purely because of the fact I know what I went through. In a way, it's kind of a reminder that I could always watch this back when I'm in my next pregnancy, if I happened to suffer with these again, just to know that there is a light at the end of the tunnel. You will get better, you will feel better, things will get better, and that we can't help how we feel, and no one is judging you at all. You are who you are, you cannot help it, and it does not make you any less of a person or a mum at all. There's not really much more I have to say on the subject. I hope this could have helped just one person who may be out there going through what I went through both times round. It's not a nice thing to do. If you do have any questions, then obviously please don't hesitate to comment below, and I will try and answer them. This is just my circumstance and my experience of what I went through, and I know everyone goes through completely different things. Me and my husband are praying that my third pregnancy will be a stress-free, easy pregnancy and easy labour, because they just haven't been so far. But at the end of the day, there is nothing that I would change ever that would stop me from having my beautiful little boys. So there is a light at the end of the tunnel. I hope this was helpful to some of you, and I will see you all again for another video shortly. Bye guys.